Harold, thank you very much for inviting me to be with you this morning. And let me thank the IAFF for their intelligent selection of Matt Vinci to be on your staff. Matt did a great job in the state of Vermont, and we worked together among other projects to build a burn building, Vermont State College, which is today providing improved training capabilities for Vermont's firefighters, and also is a senator who does not take contributions from corporations. I want to thank the IAFF for your support over the years. It has seemed to me to be a basic fact about political life that at some point you have to make a decision about which side you are on. Are you on the side of the big money interests and their large campaign donors, or are you on the side of working families? That is a decision I made many, many years ago, and I thank you over the years for your support. Let me talk a bit about the reality of American life today. Every person in this room understands that in recent years we have seen a huge increase in worker productivity. You and the equipment that you have enables you to do more. And the question that we have got to ask ourselves, not only for firefighters, but for workers all over this country, how does it happen when worker productivity goes up, wages go down? How does it happen that in this great country we have seen for the last 40 years a shrinking of the American middle class at the same time as the people on top have done phenomenally well? Today in America, municipal employees, and I know something about that because I was mayor for 8 years, municipal employees in many instances are struggling and working longer hours for lower wages. Municipal budgets are being cut while corporate profits are at an all-time high, and the wealthiest people have never had it so good. How does it happen that today the average male worker in adjusted income, inflation adjusted for income, is earning $700 less than he earned 42 years ago? How does it happen that today the top 1/10 of 1% wealthiest people in this country now have more wealth than the bottom 90%? How does it happen that today in America, since the Wall Street crash, 99% of all new income is going to the top 1%? How does it happen that fire departments and police departments and public schools all over this country are starved for funding at exactly the same time as we give huge tax breaks to the wealthy and the large corporations? Today in America, we're losing $100 billion every single year because corporate America is putting their profits into tax havens like the Cayman Islands and Bermuda, not paying their fair share of taxes, and yet municipal governments, state governments are being starved all over this country. Maybe, just maybe, it's time for corporate America and the wealthiest people in this country to start paying their fair share of taxes. The issue that we have got to deal with is whether we are one America in which working class families are able to earn decent livings, able to have decent health care, able to send their kids to college, able to live with dignity, or whether or not we are going to move into an oligarchic form of society where a handful of billionaires have enormous wealth and enormous power, while everybody else sees a decline in their standard of living. Now, I know you've been visiting Capitol Hill. So let me tell you what's going on in the United States Congress today. Abraham Lincoln, in his great Gettysburg Address, talked about a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. That's what American democracy is supposed to be about. But tragically, in recent years, especially as a result of this disastrous Citizens United Supreme Court decision, the billionaire class, people who have more money than you could imagine, are now spending hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to buy and sell candidates. That's what's going on. And the agenda up in Capitol Hill is not the agenda that says, how do we provide health care to all of our people? How do we raise the minimum wage to a living wage? How do we make sure that city and state governments have the resources that they need to make sure that their people get the protection and the help that they need? When you talk about priorities in America, just take a deep breath. I know you're in this every single day, but step back and ask yourselves, if you talk about priorities in America, what priorities are higher, more important than public safety, than making sure that we have the fire departments and the ambulance services and the EMT people to keep us healthy, to protect our property, to protect our rights? What priority is higher than that? And yet what we are doing now is starving state governments, starving local governments, because the priorities up on the Hill are not for working people. They are tax breaks for millionaires and billionaires. They are unfettered free trade agreements which enable corporations to shut down in America and move to China. They are agreements which make it harder for our kids to go to college. So what do we do? What's the answer? Well, let me tell you what I think. I think that time is now, if we're talking about the survival of the middle class, the time is now to stand together with workers of all stripes to say enough is enough. The United States government has got to start representing the middle class and working families in this country, and not just the billionaires. So what are some of the things that we have to do? For a start, we have to overturn, through a constitutional amendment, this disastrous Supreme Court that says to the billionaires, this is what it says: you can spend hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars to buy the candidates you want. And do you know what these people like the Koch brothers believe? Do you know what they believe? I'll tell you what they believe. 1980, one of the brothers, a guy named David Koch, ran for vice president of the United States on the Libertarian Party. And this is his definition of freedom. This is what he believes: ending Social Security, ending Medicare, ending Medicaid, ending federal aid to education. Some of us are trying to raise the minimum wage to a living wage. $7.25 is not a living wage. Do you know what their understanding of freedom is? They want to abolish the concept of the minimum wage. If you're in a high unemployment area and somebody can hire you for $4 an hour, that's great. Well, it's not great to me. What we need to do in this country right now is to reverse the attacks on trade unions that are going on all over this country. The trade union movement are precisely the people who built the great middle class of this country. You gave us you and your brothers and sisters fought for Social Security, you fought for Medicare, you fought for Medicaid, you fought for affordable housing. You fought for every decent program that benefits the working people of this country. And that is why there is a war going on, not only against the middle class in general, but against trade unionists. Because the billionaire class understands, they're not dummies, they understand that when working people stand together, not only can they negotiate decent contracts, but they are a political force, that they're going to organize people politically to get out and fight for what's right for working families. And that's where we are at today. There is a war going on against working families where the billionaires are saying, hey, we got it, almost all of it, but we want all of it. The greed out there is quite incredible. This billionaire class is a very religious group of people. Their religion is greed. They want more and more. There is no end to what they want. So what our job is, where the trade union movement is right in the middle of the struggle, is to bring our people together, to make sure that in the next election we don't have 36% of the people voting, but we have 70, 80% of the people voting. That in the next election we do not let our opponents divide us up on all kinds of issues. I know that there are differences in this room on abortion, on gay marriage, guns, whatever it may be. Fine, let's have our differences. But when it comes to whether or not our kids can go to college, whether or not we're going to make it easier for workers to join unions, whether or not we're going to have a trade policy which creates jobs in this country, or whether it creates jobs in China, whether or not college is affordable, whether or not all Americans are entitled to health care as a right, let us stand together and not be divided. So I conclude by, and again, as a former mayor, I know something about this. I conclude by thanking you for putting your lives on the line every single day to protect the people in your community, to protect their property. There is a reason why firefighters all over this country are widely respected. It's because of your decency, your bravery, and your work ethic. But now something more is being asked of you, not only to be great firefighters or EMT people, but what is being asked of you now is to help lead in your communities with your brothers and sisters all over this country a grassroots political movement which says that the government of the United States of America, government of our great country, has got to be returned into the hands of the people who built this country and taken away from the greed and recklessness of the billionaire class who care nothing but for their own gains. So I want to thank all of you for the work you're doing. And when people back home say, you know, you came to Washington, you're talking to all these politicians, it's all crap, it's all BS. And I know, trust me, that a lot of people feel that way. You tell them if it's all so stupid and it's all so irrelevant, you ask them why the Koch brothers are prepared to spend almost $1 billion electing their candidates. All right? So thank you all very much for what you do. Be safe. Take care. Thank you.